Testimony, again, graphic. Ventura's husband, Alex Fine, at one point walking out of court as his wife was peppered with questions about allegedly being raped. Also today, Dawn Richard spotted entering court, the former member of Diddy's girl group, Danity Kane, who prosecutors also called to the stand.
This week has been extremely challenging, but also remarkably empowering and healing for me. I hope that my testimony has given strength and a voice to other survivors and can help others who have suffered to speak up and also heal from abuse and fear. For me, the more I heal, the more I can remember. And the more I can remember, the more I will never forget.
Is there something you've been meaning to confess before you step into that room tonight? Because some of us carry truths not on our lips, but buried deep in the chest or in the gut, wrapped up in a smile that says, "I'm fine." Cassie once wore that smile, but what we now know? That smile was a mask for a scream, silent, aching, and long unheard. What Cassie hid wasn't just a bad relationship. It was 10 years of fear, control, chaos, humiliation, violence so normalized, it became wallpaper in her life. And if whispers are true, on the night of the Met Gala, Diddy didn't just pose for cameras, he allegedly assaulted her in a bathroom filled with silence and spectators. Yes, other celebrities were there. Yes, people allegedly saw. And yes, they looked away. Now, pregnant and brave, Cassie has taken the stand in Diddy's criminal trial. 9 months along and still standing tall, she's telling a truth that's darker than headlines could ever capture. She's painting a picture of forced parties with strangers, blackmail threats hanging over her head, and emotional lows so devastating she admits she considered walking into traffic. She even compared her experience to Tina Turner's worst moments with Ike, eat the cake, anime, kind of abuse. And now, with the footage finally out, the courtroom isn't just open, it's roaring. The silence that once covered up, Cassie's pain is cracking. We're finally hearing what she survived. And while Cassie's voice grows louder, Diddy's team scrambles. His lawyers are pulling every thread they can find, asking the question they hope will stick. If it was that bad, why didn't she say something sooner? It's the question that always shows up, loud and accusatory. But the answer is actually pretty straightforward. When you're trapped in a world built on fear, control, and manipulation, where the person hurting you also holds the power to ruin your life, silence isn't weakness. It's survival. Cassie didn't speak up because speaking meant danger. Because every move was watched, every word measured, and every cry for help could come back as punishment. So she stayed quiet, not because it didn't happen, but because surviving meant swallowing the truth. And now, finally, she's using her voice. The real question isn't why she waited, it's why she had to wait at all.
Cassie, she was embarrassed by it. She even talked about, what would I tell my mom if something like this got out?
Turns out the answer is pretty straightforward. A crippling fear of what Diddy might do next if she made the slightest move against him. There was a text message shared from 2017 where she said, "Nothing good comes out of freak-offs." Then, she says, "You treat me like you're Ike Turner." That was a nod to the pain she says she suffered. Cassie didn't just name-drop Ike Turner by accident. She weaponized it. Those 8 words carried generations of pain. If you know the story of Ike and Tina, you already know. It was never just about bruises. It was about owning someone, controlling what they wore, ate, sang, felt. It was about fear so deep it made you stay, lie, smile, even love. That's exactly what Cassie said happened to her. She was still a teen when it all started, a fresh-faced rising singer, and Diddy was nearly 40. Instead of building her up, he locked her down. When did she sign with Bad Boy Records? 2006. It was a 10-album deal. Did she release any after late 2006? No. Yeah, you heard her. He promised her 10 albums and gave her 1. Instead, she got a decade of unspeakable abuse. Cassie told the court that she didn't even just suffer abuse. She was groomed for it, made to feel special, then stripped of agency bit by bit, year after year. Like Tina Turner, Cassie was expected to play nice in public and stay silent in private. But now that silence is over, she described everything. from being forced into freak-offs with male escorts to being peed on, filmed without consent, and physically assaulted. Days before, male escort Daniel Filla took the stand, and his stories were wild. He said Diddy made him Cassie's mouth while she choked, and filmed the whole thing for blackmail. The same guy said he witnessed Cassie twice. He grabbed her by her hair and dragged her by the hair into the bedroom. She was screaming, and he pulled her into the bedroom. And what I heard sounded like him slapping her. Y'all, this makes my skin crawl. Now Cassie is confirming the horror for herself. Yesterday, she told the prosecutor, "Why were you choking? Too much in my mouth." Who else? Sean. Did you want Sean to on you? I didn't want anyone to on me. How often did it happen? Often enough. So let that sit with you for a minute. She also said this. I was expected to do freak-offs on my period. Did you want to do that? No. And this.
His ex, Cassie Ventura, who is 9 months pregnant, was on the stand for the second day in a row. The jury was shown photos of past injuries. She also testified the freak-offs left her with sores, frequent UTIs, and stomach problems.
Y'all, this wasn't just about wild nights or kink. This was ritualistic and deeply degrading. She said she couldn't say no without putting herself in danger. When asked why she spoke to him so gently, she said, I didn't want him to. Be angry. She even had to delete videos off her own phone just to avoid blackmail. She wrote, "Please delete the videos off your phone. Too many people have access to your devices." He replied, "No iCloud, all good." Ambient kicking in, and when she finally left, he allegedly raped her during a closure talk on her own living room floor. Just imagine how it felt for Cassie to say all of this. 9 months pregnant, staring Diddy down in court, knowing the world was listening. Cassie Ventura finished her testimony. She'd been mostly stoic, but that afternoon, the tears came. She had held herself together for 4 long days on the stand, even through brutal cross-examination. And all the while, she testified to things so raw, so invasive, so dehumanizing. Things most people would never want to say out loud. She broke down when prosecutor Emily Johnson on redirect asked if Sean Combs had used her during freak-offs, those long, drug-fueled sessions with male partners. Her tears brought others to tears. But the line that shook everyone wasn't about the abuse. It was about what it cost her soul. She said, I would give the money back, because I would have agency and autonomy, and I wouldn't have to work so hard to get those things back. She meant the $20 million Diddy gave her to settle the lawsuit. She would give it all back, every cent, just to have her freedom, because this wasn't just heartbreak, it was a woman screaming to be free. That's why her Ike Turner text was played in court, because freedom is exactly what Tina Turner fought for too. Tina once said, I felt obligated to stay there and I was afraid. I didn't want to hurt him. And after he beat me up, I was just sitting there all bruised and torn, and all of a sudden I'm feeling sorry for him. Maybe I was brainwashed. And Cassie? She told the court she often blamed herself for what happened. She wore the shame. Covered bruises with makeup, smiled when she wanted to disappear. She lived a double life, one the world adored, and one that barely looked familiar in the mirror. I felt like an object, being heavily objectified by men. Cassie was reliving trauma so raw that her own husband had to walk out when she testified about being assaulted. The defense dragged it out, hoping to force a mistrial. The testimony stayed graphic. Her husband, Alex Fine, had to leave the courtroom when the questioning became too much. At the same time, Dawn Richard, former member of Diddy's group Danity, Kane, was seen entering court. Prosecutors called her to testify. She didn't have to. She had her own $20 million settlement. But she came anyway, 9 months pregnant, because she wanted her agency back, but she didn't know the real storm was still coming. Just as her courtroom testimony began fading from headlines, the 2018 Met Gala interview dropped. Suddenly, it wasn't just Cassie's words in court, it was footage. Her face. A moment the world missed, now playing back in 4K, undeniable, and it threatened to blow the lid off everything. The Met Gala is supposed to be fashion's most elite night, but in 2018, something far darker happened behind the scenes, something no one wanted to admit. At the time, people thought Cassie was just being coy, cute, or maybe mysterious. But now it feels like a secret code, a woman blinking in Morse, hoping someone would read between the seams of her custom designer gown and help her. Behind all the glamour and flashing cameras, Cassie says she was being controlled, humiliated, and beaten every single day. That very night, according to multiple sources and industry whispers, Cassie was allegedly assaulted by Diddy in a Met Gala bathroom, with other celebrities present, and they did nothing. The thing about people like Diddy is that they don't just hurt you in private. They do it in rooms full of people who are too scared to speak up. Under oath just days ago, Cassie described a life where she wasn't allowed to say no, where her schedule, body, and even her intimate health were managed solely for one purpose: freak-offs. These freak-offs became a job with no time for anything else but to endure them and then try to recover. She said the aftermath left her with sores and frequent UTIs that stopped responding to medication. When asked how painful the UTIs were, she said very painful, and that antibacterials no longer worked. During freak-offs, she described the sensation as burning and said she wouldn't advise anyone to go through it. She wasn't just made to participate, she was allegedly filmed, recorded, and threatened with blackmail if she stepped out of line. Once, when she was dating someone else, she said she was threatened with the release of freak-off videos, something she feared would force her to explain everything to her mother. She called it horrible and disgusting. No one should ever do that to anyone. When asked what Sean said the impact would be, the answer was simple: shame. So when people started revisiting that Met Gala footage, it wasn't just curiosity, it was horror. The pieces began snapping into place: her stiff body language, the controlled way she spoke, the way Diddy hovered behind her, laughing along but watching closely. Then there was that moment after the carpet, one nobody saw on the live stream. According to whispers amplified by courtroom testimony and insider tips, Cassie was beaten in a private bathroom that night. She wasn't alone. Other celebrities were allegedly nearby, maybe even in the room. Whether they heard the thuds, the shouts, or saw her come out shaken, nobody said a word. Because in 2018, Diddy wasn't on trial. He was still untouchable. Puff, Brother Love, P. Diddy, a mogul, the man who could make or break careers with a single phone call. And Cassie? Just another artist who got lucky dating the boss, or so the public thought. But the truth was darker. She was living in hell. That Met Gala moment was a perfect snapshot of the decade she endured. A glamorous mask hiding bruises and trauma beneath couture. A partner accepted by all because he wrote the checks. A room full of powerful people who knew and still said, "That's none of my business." Cassie kept showing up, but inside she was dying. She testified, "There was a time I couldn't take the pain. I tried to walk out into traffic." She described Diddy throwing her against walls, stomping on her face, dragging her across hotel floors. At one point, she was allegedly thrown across patio furniture after being dangled off a balcony. It wasn't just her word. The world saw proof. A 2016 hotel surveillance video dropped, allegedly showing Combs' then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in a hallway. Ventura filed a now-settled lawsuit claiming she was trying to leave after a drunken Combs punched her. The video appears to show Combs chasing her down the hall, throwing her to the ground, and repeatedly kicking her. Rumors flew. People were outraged, but Diddy's team stayed silent. No charges, no consequences. Now, that same video played in full, 15 minutes, in the Manhattan federal courtroom for the third day in a row. Jurors watched the entire unedited footage. It showed moments never seen before. Cassie barefoot in a dark hoodie, waiting for an elevator, using the hotel phone. The security director who responded to the attack took pictures of the aftermath: broken vases, marks on the wall, journalists. Inside the courtroom said it was silent because the edited version everyone had seen before was light work compared to this. What the jury saw in the unedited footage confirmed everything Cassie had said. She was trying to escape. The attack was the fallout of a freak-off gone wrong, and she was barefoot and desperate, calling the front desk for help. Diddy followed her, dragged her back, and allegedly destroyed the hotel room in the process. The jury wasn't just watching an attack, they were holding the evidence. Federal agents brought out cash, baby oil, and other items Cassie described as part of the freak-off setup, all recovered from Diddy's hotel room the night of his arrest. The agent who coordinated the search displayed $9,000 in cash, fanned out like cards for the jury. She also testified that ketamine, MDMA, and other supplies Cassie said Diddy stocked for free were found in his room. When the prosecution asked, the one question that silenced the room, "Did he beat you during freak-offs?" Cassie's eyes filled with tears as she said yes. Now, this isn't just allegations anymore. It's surveillance footage, witness testimony, federal raids, visible injuries, and a survivor risking everything for justice. Cassie Ventura, 9 months pregnant, testified for the second day. The jury saw photos of her past injuries, and yet it took this long for the world to believe her. Which brings up the real question everyone knew but didn't ask. Why stay silent? Cassie wasn't locked away. She walked red carpets, sat in VIP booths, front row at fashion shows, and held hands with Diddy at the Met Gala, Grammys, BET Awards, you name it. She was visible the whole time, and none of the celebrities, powerful and opinionated as they are, did a damn thing. Cassie confirmed the rumors hinted at for years. Diddy surrounded himself with an army, assistants, bodyguards, celebrity friends, and she was treated like an object, pushed, slapped, stomped on, sometimes right in front of them. She testified that after a brutal night, she showed up bruised and battered at a party, and instead of asking if she was okay, a bet executive told her to smile. Because when it's Diddy, that's what you do. You smile, keep the vibe right, laugh, post pictures, because no one wants to be the one to ruin the mood. Those who tried to help were either shut out or silenced. Even after being beaten, Cassie called Scott Messy Kid Cudi for help. And Diddy's reaction? Cassie said, Sean wanted Scott's friends to see Scott's car blown up. Yes, her ex-boyfriend's car was blown up after she reached out for help. If this sounds like a movie plot, that's exactly how Diddy allegedly operated. With money, fear, and power. Male escort Daniel Phillips testified just days ago, saying when asked why he stayed silent, "My thoughts were that this was someone with unlimited power, and chances are, even if Cassie had gone to the police earlier, she might have still risked losing her life." For those not directly threatened by Diddy, in an industry that thrives on image, who's brave enough to speak up when the man holding the checkbook controls so much? Now, let's talk about Dawn Richard, formerly known as Danny Kane, who was called to testify. She too was a former artist under Diddy and filed her own lawsuit in 2023, accusing him of abuse and exploitation. When asked if she saw Cassie during that time, Dawn, who worked with Cassie for years, revealed she witnessed firsthand the violence, how Diddy threw Cassie to the ground, kicked her, and even hit her with a skillet full of eggs. Dawn was terrified, not just for Cassie, but for herself if she spoke out. Even with survivors stepping forward, the silence from other stars remains deafening. Where are the apologies from those who stood next to Diddy on red carpets, who posted "Larmy Too" when it trended, but then scrolled past Cassie's pain? Let's be real, the industry protected him. They let his behavior slide because the hits kept coming, and nobody wanted to lose VIP access to Bad Boy for life. Cassie was young and beautiful, seen as a kept woman, invisible in their eyes. Even now, after the tapes, photos, and the full 15-minute hotel surveillance footage, the silence continues. When Cassie walked out of the courtroom, she didn't say much, but her lawyer's words hit hard. It's been extremely challenging, but remarkably empowering and healing. Cassie hopes her testimony gives strength and a voice to other survivors, helping them speak up and heal from trauma and fear. The more I heal, the more I can remember. The more I remember, the more I will never forget. This isn't just a press release. It's a mission statement. Cassie isn't just fighting for herself anymore. She's speaking for every woman groomed into silence and left to rot behind someone else's shine. What a hell of a week it's been. The industry is shaking because if Diddy goes down, he's not going alone. So, here's what I want to know. From you. Do you think Cassie was the only one? Why do you think so many celebrities stayed silent for so long? And do you believe there are more videos waiting to surface? Drop your thoughts and comments below, because this trial is far from over, and the tea keeps boiling over every day. So make sure you subscribe to get that fresh brew. Stay tuned, because the next update might just set Hollywood on fire. See you then.